Welcome to the Pickleball Recovery Podcast, where we highlight products and practices to help you feel better faster, so you can spend less time stiff, sore, and injured, and more time on the court doing what you love. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Pickleball Recovery. I am your host, Tim Ringgold. It is great to be with you. I really appreciate you coming to check out this new podcast in the pickle sphere. And today is going to be just kind of a completely unscripted introduction. Just going to riff with you for a few minutes to kind of give you the backstory and what to expect, kind of tee this podcast up, because it's basically an interview style podcast where I'll be interviewing experts and professionals, athletic trainers, clinicians, even sleep experts, different vendors that have really great products that help you recover, and professional pickleballers. So you're mostly going to be hearing from them. So I just wanted to give you kind of the backstory of how this came to be, because I like a good backstory. So I'm just going to project out into the universe that you do too. So this all got started for me in, I think it was September of 2020. It wasn't related to the pandemic. I just happened to get tennis lessons for my birthday. And in my quest to find a tennis instructor, I found a pickleball instructor. So there was a guy in my neighborhood, James Haupt, shout out to Coach James, where he had like a kind of like a 4/5 scale pickleball court. It wasn't a full size, but it was pretty close, like crammed into his backyard. And his backyard backed up to this green belt that our family walks our dogs on. And I would walk by this, what looked like Honey, I Shrunk the tennis court. Like I would walk by it for years. And I was like, wonder what that is. That looks fun. Because when I was growing up as a kid, I would play tennis and I would play ping pong and I played racquetball and I played a little squash. So I was definitely familiar with racket sports. And my best friend, Doug, was on the varsity tennis team. I was like his punching bag, like we'd go play together and, kind of just, I'd try to survive. And boy, would he get mad if I beat him. And it was so cool because he drove. And so we lived in this like tiny town where he'd have to drive to the courts and he'd have to drive me home after I beat him. It was just the tension, you just wouldn't, it was great. Sorry, Doug. Those were some fond memories. But it's been like 30 years, right? So since I had touched basically a ping pong paddle or a tennis racket. And this one friend says, I want to give you tennis lessons for your birthday. And I'm thinking, that's awesome. I love tennis as a kid. How am I going to find an instructor? And bloop, along the way, I walk by my neighbor's house and I'm like, do you teach tennis? And his wife was like, nobody teaches pickleball and the first lesson's free. So I was like, well, okay, I'll give that a whirl. And, what happened was, at the same time, I went onto Facebook and was like, hey, Orange County friends, because I live in Orange County, California. Anybody play tennis? I just got lessons and I'm looking for people to play tennis with. And people started commenting, no, but have you tried pickleball? And it was like, no, I can't play a sport with the word pickle in it. Are you kidding? I'm way too cool. My ego was just not having it. So, but one of my buddies who is also a music therapist, Eric, he and I busy with young kids and our career. And we live 25 minutes away from each other. But Eric and I see each other at conferences for music therapy more often than we see each other at home. And so he was like, hey, I'll learn pickleball with you if you want. And so, boop, Amazon 2 for $50 special. I'll get some paddles. Let's go. And so we both bought some, cheap paddles, didn't know what we were doing. And then I got this lesson from my neighbor and you know how it is oh, what is this? And those paddles were terrible. Right. And I was like, this thing doesn't work very well because I feel like I should be doing a better job, but I was totally hooked from day one. But here's something that I noticed pretty much straight away. Oh, wow, did I get sore? And I didn't really, like many of you, realize just how physical pickleball is. because of the stereotype. So I'm thinking, people my parents' age play pickleball. How hard could this be? Ha, 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 famous last words. And so I was a little confused. I'm a former soccer player, played rugby. I love ball sports, played baseball, played a little football, but was into ball sports, contact sports, full field sports. And pickleball just kind of looked harmless. And then I started having, massive pain in my body within, just right out of the gate. I had a sore shoulder. I had sore feet, particularly my left foot. Oh my God, I had never experienced anything like I was starting to experience. And I was in pain every day. And it was a drag because, of course, like everybody else, as soon as I discovered pickleball, I was like, more. And there's this great league in Orange County in Tustin. Shout out to Coach Phil Dunmeyer, where you can pay like next to nothing and join this kind of social league and kind of learn, and go in and play challenge courts every day. It's really well organized. And every morning, everyone's out there having fun. And so I would just go every morning to just kind of, learn by trial by fire, right? I would take a lesson and then I would just go play. And then I would take a lesson every other week and then I'd go play. But oh man, all I remember early on, unfortunately, is the pain. And I just thought, man, this can't be, maybe it's my shoes, right? Maybe I need better shoes. And then it's like, maybe I need a better paddle. And then it was like, well, I ticked those two boxes off. Now what is it? So, I got better shoes. I got a better paddle, and I was still having like shoulder issues. I had this foot issue. And I just thought there's gotta be like, I don't know, like I'm starting to go to physical therapy now, like within a short period of time for all the pain I was in. And I was not psyched. You know what I'm saying? I was just not psyched to be walking around in pain every day. Now I work in addiction recovery. And so, and I'm in long-term recovery myself for a behavioral addiction. And so like, I'm really kind of sensitive to pain because a lot of people get addicted to pain medicine or pain medications, right? To try to relieve that pain. So I got a little nervous. I was like, this is, I don't know, but I couldn't stop playing, I just couldn't stop. And I had to stop playing soccer because I had had too many head injuries. I have a history of concussion. And so I think I have we're right around the 20 mark right now for documented concussions. And the joke is that I used to fight crime, but poorly. So that's how I got so many. But I'm just an intense guy and everything I do is top gear. And so, I just racked them up over the course of my life. And in soccer, which is a contact sport, I was a defender and a goalie, and it's really easy to get concussions. And I was playing all the way up until into my 40s. And I finally had to retire. It was just too much. It was too dangerous. It was causing too many problems. And so there were several years between playing soccer where I just would run and I would lift, but that was like, this is so dull. No offense to all my CrossFit friends out there, but like if there's not a ball involved, I'm bored because the ball, that is where it's at. Like tracking a ball through time and space. It's physically outstanding because you put your body in situations, athletically to express itself. And then mentally, it's a vacation from your life. You know what I'm talking about. I'm preaching to the choir here. But because with a ball, you have to have this singular focus and your focus has to be in the present moment. You can't daydream. You can't wander. You just have to stay present. So it's great. And then socially, holy cow, the number of people, new friends I met. And on the Myers-Briggs, I scored 100% under extrovert. So feel free to come up to me if we're at the same tournament, because I will be super excited to meet you. That's just the way I'm wired, right? So suddenly here's this whole new pool of people I've never met before, right? It's just like, this is great. And then spiritually for me, nature is where I find God or my higher power. I feel better outdoors than indoors. And I marvel at the sky, and I marvel at nature. I'm totally the tree hugging hippie, even though I don't look or dress like one. Well, I literally hug my jacaranda tree every morning, barefoot, in the grass, in my backyard, and marvel at the stars if it's pre-dawn, or marvel at the birds if the sun's already come out. So nature is really big for me. So I'm very blessed that I live in Southern California so that I can play pickleball year round and I can be outdoors. And, I have to deal with sun and I have to deal with wind, which I don't particularly like either of those, to be honest. They're quite, they really do cause problems on the pickleball court that playing indoors solves. But, I'll take that trade-off. But I'm definitely I'm diagnosed with ADD. And so we'll be playing and it's really hard for me because a huge hawk will fly overhead, right? And I'll just be like, guys, look at that. And nobody cares. And I'm just like, that is so cool. And they're just like, what is the matter with you? What is the matter with this guy? So anyhow, pickleball just ticks all the boxes for me. And so I'm unwilling to give it up. And I thought, okay, the way I think about it is pickleball is a solution in so many ways, but it also creates a problem, and that's pain. It's creating injuries and it's creating pain in my life. And so how do I solve that problem? And as an athlete, right, there's I already was aware that, there's tons of different things out there to help people rehab. And when I went through my concussion journey, I got diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury in 2016 as a result of a particularly bad concussion, and did a ton of research on different kind of devices that you can use to help heal your brain. And so I was kind of familiar about this stuff. I own, one of those, actually two kind of high-end products. One is a PEMF mat and the other one is red light therapy. Have them in my house. You should see my family. They're just like, what is the matter with him? But I'm, trying to keep my body working. That's what's the matter with me. And so I kind of had an awareness that this stuff was out there. And I just thought, I'm just going to be like Sherlock Holmes. I'm just going to dive into this like a detective. And I'm going to go find out what are the best products out there for pain relief, for injury relief, particularly for muscle recovery. And that one for me has been the most interesting journey. How do I get the stiffness and the soreness out of my muscles as fast as possible? And then I started playing tournaments and I started to cramp. Now, I don't know about you. I don't cramp when I play socially because I don't play that many hours. But some people, I know I've heard this many times from people who are retired, they'll play 5-6 hours a day, 5-6 days a week because they've got the time. And so inevitably they start dealing with cramps. And so it was cramps are a problem to solve for as well. Okay, this is new territory. So what's out there that's going to help with that? And there's all kinds of things, but I didn't know. I'm still new. This is, at the time of this recording, it's the spring of 2022. I haven't even been in the pickleball world 2 years. So it's all new to me and fascinating. So I figured I now own, so many different recovery tools in my house, and I use them on a regular basis. And I thought, everybody I know that I play pickleball with has got some sort of compression sleeve, some sort of ace bandage, some sort of brace, right? Some sort of pain cream or Bengay or something more, than just Bengay, but some sort of topical ointment. Everybody's got this stuff, but where is there one place in the pickle sphere? I love that word. I've never heard it before. I think it rocks. But where's one place in the pickle sphere where we can be talking about this topic specifically? Sharing our experiences with products we've used. Because what I was noticing was it would go like this. I'd roll into the pickleball court. I'm warming up. Someone's asking me how I'm doing. And I'm like nursing some sort of injury. Or I see them strapping something on their body. Or one of my friends disappears for a period of time. And then I'm texting them like, are you okay? And they're like, no, I'm out with a fill in the blank injury, right? Has that been you? Have you been the one who's had to send a text like, oh, I'm out, you guys, I got a blank injury. I pulled, I strained, I redid my, da-da-da-da-da. And then the number of conversations I've had where people are like going in for surgery, considering surgery, they're out currently because of surgery, they're rehabbing from surgery, they just got back from surgery. This has been a constant thread through my pickleball journey. I have seen pretty much almost all of my friends go down in this 18-month period with either a soft tissue injury or, a connective tissue injury, or they've had to have surgery or all of the above. And so I was like, all right, well, let's look around. And what I noticed in the pickle sphere was that people really love paddles. Wow. Like, people want to talk about paddles. They want to compare paddles. They want to review paddles. Like paddles, like it's almost like for cyclists, like, the bikes, like people just love the equipment. They also love technique, and there's plenty of great resources out there for how to improve your game. But like no one was like talking about recovery. And I was like, I'm the recovery guy. Are you kidding? So because of my professional background, I wrote a book on addiction recovery in 2019 called Sonic Recovery, Harness the Power of Music to Stay Sober. So like recovery has been near and dear to my heart. I run a grief recovery retreat. So I'm like mad passionate about helping people heal from grief and how to recover from the loss of a loved one. So whether it's the loss of a loved one or it's addiction, I have been super steeped in the recovery world for well over a decade, almost 2 decades, right? At least, 2003, I walked into my first 12-step meeting for my own addiction recovery. So, we're coming up next year on 20 years. So, that word means something to me. And so I thought, well, there's nobody really setting up shop for this. So like, I thought, well, I'll be like the pickleball central of recovery. Like that'll be my way to contribute to and add value to this community that has breathed new life into me. And I want to tell you a story about why it's really important for me to add value to this community, because this community, and you've heard this from others, like this community has given me a new lease on life. And here's how. In 2016, I had a traumatic brain injury. It was a concussion. I had to hang up the soccer boots, right? Or cleats. And I went into depression because as an athlete, I saw myself, a particularly ball sport athlete, I saw this opportunity to express myself physically, and it was gone. And it wasn't coming back. Like I tried every milder, softer version of soccer till the point where it was like, there's no way, there's no circumstance in which I can play soccer and it be okay and safe for my brain. It just was no longer safe. And I really grieved the loss of me as an athlete. That was a drag. And so I wandered the desert of, lifting and running. Wasn't for me. And when I discovered pickleball, here's how I had thought about my physical body as an athlete. I was before pickleball and after soccer, when I was in that kind of limbo, it was like, well, that's it. I'm just now on a long, slow descent to the grave. Dun, dun, dun. Right? I mean, I don't think I've mentioned that I'm dramatic in any way, but that's what it was like in my head. It was like, well, that's it. We're just going to try to keep this thing running as long as possible, but it's really just, prevention. Not very exciting. And then I met Jack. Jack was 92 when I met him. It was my probably second day playing down at Tustin School where the league played. And I was starting down at the, 2.5 to 3.0 courts. I was going to just start from the beginning. And Jack was my partner. And did I mention Jack was 92? Yeah, he was 92. Yeah, I think I mentioned that. Did I mention Jack was 92, people? 92. And he was playing pickleball. And he was good. And he, at the time, was 44 years older than me. And I thought to myself, that's the future I could live into as a pickleballer. I've got 44 more years of this sport ahead of me, at least, because Jack's here on the court. And that gave me a new, what's the right phrase? Like software programming. And that software programming now goes something like this. My best years are still ahead of me. My best years are still ahead of me. And I can't tell you what that's been like for me psychologically to feel like I really do feel like a kid again. And so I'm so happy again. I mean, I've found a sport that allows me to feel alive, that challenges me, that I'm pretty good at, that I can express myself physically and athletically again, where I meet all these great new people. And then I discovered the tournaments, and I had never played like tournaments. That's a whole new concept for me in sports. Wasn't really playing any sports competitively where you played a lot of tournaments. Mostly it was like leagues where by the end of a season, you won something, but you didn't do like a one day, all out competition. So this is a whole new learning curve for me physically, like biomechanically, chemically, emotionally. Like, how do you manage yourself on tournament days? The last tournament I played in, I wore out physically and I lost to my body. I didn't lose to the competition. I lost to my body. And that was really frustrating. And so, like, how do I master that now? How do I master this game? And so what I decided to do was, you know what? I'm just about to turn 50. And a lot of people are coming into this sport. And if it was like 5 years from now, this probably wouldn't work out so good because of just the level of competition seems to get higher and higher so fast. But I'm pretty fast from playing soccer, and I kept myself in good shape the whole way through my life. And you know what? I'm going to give this thing, the senior pro thing, a run. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to start in singles. And I'm going to put my body through it and see what happens. Can I do it? Does my body have the ability, turning 50 years old, to discover and master and play competitively this thing, senior singles pickleball? And for those of you who have not played singles, there is pickleball and then there is singles. And they are two different things. And wow. What a difference on my body, like in terms of the absolute sheer exhaustion and level of training I'm having to put it through. It's fascinating. I'm loving it. And I'm looking ahead with this like passion and this youthful exuberance that I haven't felt in a long time. And pickleball's given me that feeling. And so kind of my philosophy is like, don't take up space in this world. Don't be a consumer, be a producer, be a contributor. Like, leave a legacy, leave a mark, add value, be a giver. My friend Joe Polish has a great quote, which is life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. And so he's inspired me throughout my own recovery journey for, going on 20 years now. And so I thought, all right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a platform where people find what they need to recover and feel better faster. That's what I'm going to do. That'll be my thing. That's where I'll set up shop in the pickle sphere, and that's where I'll help out. And we'll learn together as we go. Like, I'm not the expert. I'm just the enthusiast, and like, I'm the fellow student. And so just like for the disclaimer sake of it all, like, I don't give, and I'm not giving medical advice. This is consumer health stuff. This is not medical. That is not, I am not diagnosing. I am not treating. That is not what's happening on this podcast at any time. And please don't mistake that, because that will be your mistake. So I just need to say that up front because of the world we live in. I just want to be very explicit about that, right? I'm going to be interviewing others who are going to be talking about practices that work for them, practices that have worked either in research studies or, in anecdotal stories. And we'll be very clear about that. And so, feel free to try on any of these products or practices and see if they fit for you. One of the things I've definitely noticed is that certain things I have felt immediate, benefits from trying. Certain things I haven't. Certain things work for my body, and I know certain things don't. So, and I'll give you a quick example of that. So a couple of years ago, I was looking into keto as a diet, and I understood the philosophy of it, and I understand the efficiency of burning fat over burning sugar. The body as a baseline is designed to burn fat nice and slow, very efficient. And then if you need to go into high overdrive to outrun a tiger or fight off a tribe, then you're going to burn some sugar to kind of get that extra boost. But really, burning fat is really the efficient way for the body to metabolize and create energy. Cool. All right. But let me tell you, as an athlete, I was playing soccer at the time. That stuff did not work for my body. And I remember one day being on the soccer field training, doing, wind sprints and ball drills on my own and a little bit of running. And I was listening to a podcast of a gal who was full on into keto. And she was describing her weightlifting and how she was lifting the heaviest she had ever lifted in her life once she went keto. And I was just laughing as I was trying to run on what felt like wooden stilts, which were my legs on keto. It did not work for me. Cool. No harm, no foul. I try things out, see if they fit for you. When in doubt, talk to a physical therapist or a chiropractor or a orthopedist or an internist, depending on what the thing is, your primary doctor. But just make sure that, when you're consulting with other medical professionals, that they're actually trained in the area that you're talking about. Because just remember, medical professionals are not trained in all things. They're all pretty much specialists. So make sure you're talking to the right person and make sure you're talking to more than one, because some of them are up on the latest training and the latest research and some aren't. So, okay, all that stuff aside, this is my way to just help out, because I want to see more people on the court and less people, in PT. No offense to my physical therapy colleagues. Not trying to put you out of business, but I just want to see people having more fun, pain-free, soreness-free, injury-free. And so I figured this was the best way to go about doing that, because during the pandemic, I launched and ran a very successful podcast. We hit the top 1.5% of all podcasts worldwide. And so I was able to help out a lot of healthcare professionals reduce their stress using music, because as a music therapist, that's my specialty. And that was really like a cool way to contribute, and it was called Reduce Your Stress with Tim Ringgold. It's, wherever you find podcasts, you can find it. But I wrapped that podcast up in December specifically so that I could build this one, because I felt like I had contributed what I wanted to contribute, which was a body of music and information to help healthcare professionals reduce their stress. And I think there was something like 45 original pieces of music that I had recorded and probably another 40 interviews. And I thought, that's great. That's great. Okay, we're good. Let's go solve this problem of pain on the pickleballer. So here we are. So thanks for listening. And, like if you know somebody who's been struggling with either chronic injuries or, those niggling little strains and sprains, I'm sure someone's coming to mind right now. Would you be so kind and just share with them this podcast? Because if you're, like I said in the trailer, if you're of a certain age where, programming the VCR was high tech or, your music came on either vinyl or maybe, remember when cassette came out? Wow. Yeah. Well, then, your body operates differently than these youngsters, these whippersnappers. It's just the way it is, right? My body is not the same turning 50 as it was when I was 20. I got to take care of it differently. So this is for you and this is for them. So, and if you're under, that age and you're, in your 20s or your 30s and you want to learn what the tools are to help keep you fit and keep you pain-free and injury-free, great. This is for you too. It's not like it's a club that you're not invited. It's just that I wanted to specifically kind of help out my cohort of Gen Xers and above. So here we are. So please do me a favor, take a moment and rate and review the podcast. I don't know. Just do what feels right. That process only takes about 60 seconds. But it goes a long way to pushing the podcast out into the ocean so that other pickleballers find it. And of course, that's my goal, is to have as many people learning what they can do to feel better faster as possible. So until next time, have fun out there on the pickleball court. Stay safe. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for listening. Do you want to know the number one mistake picklers make that leads to increased pain, soreness, stiffness, and injury? Just head over to www.pickleballrecovery.com and download my free guide to playing with less pain and more enjoyment. Listen, pickleball makes us feel young at heart, but not necessarily young in body. So go download my free guide at www.pickleballrecovery.com. See you next time.